All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Land purchases. What we're seeing today is a growth in the trend that it's now cool or good or nice to purchase land. And I think that one of the greatest investments that you can make long term is the purchase of some property, because one thing about land is they're not making any more of it. And so with the increase in cost associated with rent and all of the associated expenses with owning a traditional 30-year mortgage, as well as, the upkeep, maintenance, and everything, people don't really take this into consideration. And what I've seen is that there's more so an impulse phenomena where people are just getting this land because they see that it's a trend. And a lot of people are being taken for these properties. And it started years ago with this, you can buy a tract of land in the country for $0 down and $199 a month and $99 a month. And you have all of these people that are living in a city setting, and they have no clue about what it means or what it takes to purchase or develop some land. Myself, I was from the city. I'm from the city. But I did I did years worth of due diligence before I went ahead and purchased and moved. From the time that I started saving to the time that I moved was about 3 years. And the reason why it took so long, because I wanted to purchase this land with cash, and I understood the dynamics of once I moved. And you got to understand, I had a work from home job. I had the ability to work from home prior to this whole work from home phenomenon that you see today. But what happened was, I saw the need to be able to make sure that when I purchased this land, it was debt-free and it was purchased straight out. So I didn't have the money to bet wrong. So therefore, I had to do lots of due diligence. What was I going to do once I got there? What kind of land I purchased? Where it was? The terrain of the land. Is it in a floodplain? Is it developable? Is it, or can it be developed? Is it restricted versus unrestricted? Is it farmland? Is it near any kind of industrial mining? All of these things had to be taken into consideration. And a lot of people, what they're doing today is they're getting online and they're getting into the idea that, if I purchase some land, I'm home free. And that's not the case. I personally believe that if you're going to purchase some land, number one, first and foremost, it should not be purchased with debt. You should be able to make sure that by the time you purchase that land, that is paid off, or you have a clear, I'm talking about a crystal clear plan that you can implement that to ensure that land is going to be paid off. But a lot of people don't have that, and a lot of people they're getting this, and then you're putting a mortgage on it, and the whole goal of this land is to move onto this land and to live there. But 9 times out of 10, especially with land purchase, it's just a piece of land and it has to be developed from the ground up. The septic has to be put in, electrical has to be put in, water lines have to be put in, foundations have to be put in, infrastructure have to be put in, and people don't think about fencing have to be put in. People don't think about the total cost of developing this land. And if I am moving from the city to the country, unless I have a good amount of economic resources, I'm not going to be able to develop that land. And this is the problem that people are having. It's like an impulse buy. It's like a purse. They purchase this land, and then something happened. They get discouraged, and now this land is sitting there, and they ended up selling it, or they can't sell it because the people that do the due diligence understand what is a good piece of property from not a good piece of property. And a lot of people, the average person, they really don't have a clue about what is a good piece of property as opposed to what's a not good piece of property. And so they don't have a clue. I've seen older people, quote unquote educated people, totally waste their money and their resources because they didn't understand what it took to purchase land, let alone develop land. They didn't understand it at all. And this is why I say over and over and over again, you got to make sure that you know what you're doing when you're purchasing some land. I do not recommend that you buy land and put a mortgage on it because, again, when you move, do you ensure that you have money put back to develop that land? A lot of people don't, especially people from the lower echelons of society that may have a couple of dollars. 9 times out of 10, you move to the country, you're not going to have that same high-paying job or decent-paying job that you did have in the city. So now a lot of people, you're working at Walmart, Dollar General, and you're trying to develop this land. The economic just doesn't make sense. When you actually whip out the calculator, it does not make sense. Stop getting wrapped up in all of this religious, I'm excited, mental positivity type stuff when you don't have the basics in order. It's so great to be highly motivated. It's great to be passionate. It's great to have this vision. But if the numbers don't make sense, the numbers don't make sense. And that's what a lot of people are getting wrapped up in. The numbers are just not making any sense. So what happens is they purchase this land, or they either they buy it outright, or they mortgage the land, and they have no real clear plan, or they don't know what they're doing to develop this property. And you're seeing a lot of people burn a whole lot of cash because they're just ignorant. They just don't know, and they haven't educated themselves. And it's not like seeing a person that think that they're smart and they're intelligent go out and do something real stupid because they thought that intelligence or their overall intellect carried over into areas that they knew nothing about. I understood full well that even though I was a project manager, PMP certified, Six Sigma green belt, I understood all of that. I understood that when it came to land development and planting a bean plant at that time, I ain't know nothing about. So I had to humble myself, get around people that understood and knew it, and take a little bit from here, take a little bit from there, and then learn and go from there. I'll give you a perfect example of somebody that heavily influenced me earlier on in my land purchases. And that was Rah Daweed from Teshua Community. Look him up. 100 acres, beautiful piece of property. Not talking about his doctrine, not talking about any of that. It's the fact that, number one, he has a beautiful piece of 100 acres. It's been developed for many, many years now. Cattle, all types of livestock, proficient pretty much everything, own multiple businesses, very successful. But these are the kind of examples that I looked at to study so that I can learn what I need to do, what I shouldn't be doing to set myself up for success. So go, again, Know what you're doing, and don't put a mortgage on this property until you know, or you have a clear understanding of how you're going to pay it off. All right, I'll follow up with some more videos on this topic. Shalom.